Hello and hello, everyone. How are we doing? Thank you for joining us tonight again on Creative Real Estate University's Zoom call, as this will be posted later on our YouTube channel, but always check us out also on our Facebook group. Tonight we have a special guest, Travis Banks. Here, Cindy set this up and then she ditched us. She had some family events. So Cindy will not be joining us tonight. Travis, I know you from Sub 2, and I don't know a whole lot about you. Give us a little rundown on who you are, how you ended up in Sub 2, and how'd you get into real estate?
Yeah. My name's Travis. I'm 26. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. And really getting into investing in real estate, if you had known me 5 years ago, you would have never thought so. I actually went to college for theater, performance. I was an actor. And so, COVID-19 happened. I had to make some readjustments with what I actually wanted out of life and see what my skill sets were best suited for. I got an opportunity to work for a stock brokerage company, and I'm still working for them now. I've been with them for 3 years. And while working with them, I was noticing some trends with the market, noticing how people were making returns, but not really building wealth. And so I decided to start looking in other avenues about how can I build some long-term wealth for myself. Started listening to a bunch of podcasts, and I was driving to Los Angeles when I listened to a Millennial Money podcast, and Pace Morby was on Millennial Money. And so, I listened to him. I really digested what he was saying. And I forgot who he was. Like, I forgot his name. So, because I got to Los Angeles, I was hanging out with my friends, I was enjoying my time on vacation, and I forgot who that guy was. So on my way back from Los Angeles, it's a 23-hour drive. I started going through the Millennial Money podcast again, because I was like, I remember that guy was talking about creative financing, something like that. And I found him again and got into his elephant challenge and really started digesting what he was saying. That led me to join Sub 2, and been in Sub 2 about 9 months now. Have closed over 20 deals myself. I have acquired 11 doors myself, looking to acquire another. I have a 7-plex that is up right now for creative financing, a 9-plex that's up for creative financing, and a 4-plex that I'm going to view sometime this week on creative financing as well. So building some wealth, building some momentum, and every day 1% better.
That's the way you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
Every day, take a little bit of action, get a little better than the day before.
Exactly.
That is an impressive track record for the last 9 months. Good job.
Thank you.
So, and you talked about building wealth versus just having a good return on your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a difference, right?
Yeah.
Building that long-term wealth, having an asset that you're hanging on to, right? Tangible asset. It's one thing to have your money in motion, making good returns. That's great. But we also want to have that tangible asset that we can hold on to long-term. And you talked mentioned briefly, we talked about Privy being good for cash deals, but a lot of what you're doing is creative.
Yes, sir.
How are you finding your leads, if you don't mind me?
So a couple different ways to find leads. One, building connections with people who are finding leads, wholesalers, realtors. That's where a lot of my lead source comes from. So a lot of my leads actually come from realtors who I've worked with, who I've done a creative deal with, and they know what I do. And they're like, this is a great deal. This is a great opportunity for you. Wholesalers, that 9 unit I was talking to you about, or telling you that I'm looking at right now, it got sent to me because of a wholesaler. He actually had a different property, the seller did. I got to talking with the seller. The seller said, hey, I actually have 20 units that I'm looking to liquidate. Looked at all the units, decided that I wanted a 6-plex that he had and a triplex that he had. I said, hey, what can we do with this? So we're getting ready to do a Morby method with that deal. So, I'll go get a bank loan, but I won't come out of pocket any money, because he's going to carry back all the money that I would need to bring with the down payment. So, wholesalers and realtors, if you don't want to go and find your own leads, are great. Just learning from those people, making those connections, telling people what you do is a great lead source. Another lead source is direct marketing, right? Or whether that be cold calling, texting, sending mails. A really great one that a lot of people don't actually do, and I never know why, is PPC, pay per click, right? You're targeting people, and those people will click on your ad and submit their information to you. Now you don't have to worry about calling somebody who maybe doesn't want to sell. Those are people who are actively looking for potentially to sell their house. So now it's just like, hey, do I have the solution for you? Were you serious? Like, whatever that case may be, direct marketing is a great way to do it as well. And JV partnering, like that's another way to do it. Maybe somebody has found the lead already and they want to hold on to it. They don't want to just sell it to you, but maybe you have something that they need. Maybe you have the knowledge base. Maybe you have the paperwork. Maybe you have the money to bring to the deal. Putting yourself out there, providing what the value that you can provide and letting people know what you can do. The people who need you will find you.
We've talked about that in our community a lot, is you don't have to try to master every piece, but master a piece.
Yes.
And then go find other people in the group in our community that are doing the other pieces that you don't have expertise in.
Yes.
So you don't have to be the money person and the person who goes out and finds all the deals or does all the underwriting.
Yeah. And so like I connect with a lot of new sub-2 students, and a lot of them actually have a lot of money, and they're like, hey, I want to go and wholesale. I'm like, why do you want to do that? And they're like, well, that's just the place that I'm supposed to start. I say, okay, great. You could spend 2-3 months trying to get a wholesale deal. You get your wholesale deal. You feel great, right? What could you have done in those 2-3 months also that you probably could have had a quicker return on what you're trying to do? And most of the time it comes back to lending out my money or partnering on a deal, right? If you have $500,000 sitting in a bank account, why do you need to go wholesale to get another 10,000? How much is that going to affect you in the grand scheme of things when you could just be going out and partnering and JVing on other people's deals and getting equity in deals? So now you 30K here, 10K here, 20K here, 50K here. You're now, you look up, your 500K is now working for you and you have 20 doors, right? And you did that in a 3-month time span, whereas you could have just been trying to wholesale and you got $10,000, right? What's the best use of your time, and what resources do you have currently that somebody else needs?
I love the synchronicity. I've had a lot of travel here these last couple of days and spent a lot of time on the airplane, and so you get a lot of thoughts in your head. This is one of those things that I was trying to figure out how to do a show on, how to talk about. Was people always ask, where do I start? And that the answer isn't the same for everybody. It all depends on, do you have time available? Do you have money available? Do you have, what resources can you bring to the table? What's your expertise, right? Everybody has a different starting place. They really do. So I love what you just said. Not everybody needs to jump in and be a wholesaling. That's not the starting point for everybody.
Yeah. And if you're afraid of numbers, obviously you're not going to be an underwriter. Like, that's not where your skill set is. But maybe you're good at talking with people. Maybe you're good at connecting with people. So maybe your skill set is going out and networking, finding the money, finding the deals. And then you have an underwriter to underwrite the deals to make sure that the deals make sense. You guys partner up, you guys buy some deals together. You got a numbers person who doesn't like to talk to people. They handle the paperwork, they handle the numbers. You're a person who likes to talk with people. You find somebody to do the opposite of you, and you usually end up succeeding.
That's fabulous and great advice. And we're gonna have to talk about more of that. And I wanted to kind of mention where you started off 9 months ago, right? Yeah, okay. You had an interest in real estate, but you didn't really have a deep understanding of it. But you kind of you heard a good podcast, and Pace Morby does some good interviews. He's always got that high energy. He hooks you in. That's how I got into sub-2 as well. I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and of course Pace is all over the internet.
Yeah.
And he just pulls you in, and just what a great community that he's built. And a wealth of information in his community, not just with him. But the elephant challenge is really a place for people to start.
Yeah.
So the elephant challenge, he kind of built and understanding the reasoning behind the elephant challenge is how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? Don't try to do everything at once, but let's just start in one place and see how we get leads. And really all that was done around Privy
Yes.
and using Privy at first to find deals. And I think that's kind of what we're going to do tonight and walk through Privy and how we do some searches and some background checks. And there's actually several different ways to use Privy to find deals.
Yes.
And I don't know if we'll get them all covered tonight, but we'll get a good start, and then maybe we'll do a follow-up show on some of the other ways. Because, like I said, you can do realtor outreach using Privy, for example. I found some good contractors / buyers, right? Using Privy, just by coming across properties that are fix and flips that have been bought and sold. And you look and see who did it, and chase down the LLCs and find out, oh, they're doing 4 or 5 deals a month. Let's get to know that person, call them and see what they want.
Mhm.
There's a myriad of means there. So you started off using Privy.
Yes.
And I agree with you. What you said is Privy is good for finding cash deals. It's not always the best for finding creative.
Mhm.
You want to talk about some creative strategies before we dive into Privy?
So creative strategies, Privy you can use for creative deals. Like, don't get me wrong, but just like the elephant challenge, the whole idea is one bite at a time. Why, if you're still new to real estate, right? Why would you go out and try and find a Morby method deal where you require 2 escrows from a title company? You have to go get a DSCR loan with credibility for a sponsor, and you also have to get the seller to do a seller carryback for a certain amount of time to also make sure that it's cash flowing. See how complicated that is? Why would you start there? Why not just start with what most 90% of deals that are done are cash deals, right? Creative deals are very, very, very hard to find. And I often talk to people who are in these types of groups. They're like, well, I see creative deals all the time. Look at the environment you're in. Most of the people that you're around are trying to do creative deals. So that's what you're seeing. But 90% of the deals that are done for real estate are cash deals, right? That's what people understand. That's what people know. That's what people feel comfortable with, right? So once you get a solid touch point on cash, you should always be going after a cash deal first anyway, right? Before you even start with creative deal, you should go after a cash deal first. And then if the cash deal doesn't work, that's when you can come back and say, what creative deal can I make out of this to make it make sense for everybody? But cash is always first, because if you can get a good cash deal, you can find a buyer, you can find a lender, you can find a partner super easily. So
Carolyn, he kind of drilled at my head when I was first starting off in sub 2 was, your offers go cash, and then you pitch your terms, right? So always try to find that easy close cash deal. If the number, right, you got to make sure the numbers work. If they don't work, then you come back and say, okay, how can we make a creative deal out of this? Can we do a seller carry back? Can we, do a Morby method? Is there other avenues as far as subject to, et cetera, et cetera? There's always other options.
yes.
Try to take the easy path first.
And the cash deal is the easiest path forward. And the reason why is it's not a lot of headache. Like, to do a cash deal is very not intensive on somebody's brain, right? And the worst thing that you can do is get a creative deal locked up and not have qualified cash. And then a cash buyer comes in and says, well, what if I give you this much cash and you don't have to worry about all this paperwork, the carry back, anything? And the seller says, I want to cancel my contract. I got a better offer. How are you going to feel if you're like, I didn't even try cash and the seller was willing to take like 50 cents on the dollar? Why would you not start there? Why would you not find out if that's the place to do it? So I'm going to show you how to find cash deals on Privy. Shane, if you want to share Privy on your screen, I'd love to get started.
Okay.
And then while Shane's doing that, I'll kind of explain to everybody what Privy is. So Privy is a software that pulls MLS data for you to take a look at comps, take a look at buyers and sellers, and take a look at recently sold properties in an area. and also take a look at what's on the MLS that you may be interested in. So just at the very start, Shane, if you go down underneath on the left hand side, if you click on that Privy coverage right there, Privy kind of looks like this when you first log in. There's a lot of information here, but really what you're looking at is blue dots and really big blue dots, because what the blue dots do is they represent MLS data. That's the best data that you can use. And then big blue dots means that there's a lot of MLS activity, whereas smaller blue dots mean that there's less MLS activity. So if you're new, Privy is kind of a tool that you can really use to do virtual wholesaling, because you can get all the information that you need right on Privy, and you don't actually have to be in the market to know what people are buying. So I like that you went to Dallas Fort Worth. So if you click on Dallas and Fort Worth, click in Dallas, right? As you come to Privy, right, you see these big blue dots. These represent activity, right? And really what you want to be doing as a wholesaler who's looking for a cash deal is you're looking for deals, you're looking for activity where buyers want to buy. So there's a couple blue dots here that you can see. You see 1,052, 1,022, 1,015, 864. These are the places that you're going to want to be. You're not really going to want to be up at that 11, right? You're not really going to want to be down at the 16, the 27, because yes, there's activity, but that's not where the breadth of activity is happening. So Shane, if you
count of the number of deals that are bought and sold in this little area, right?
Yeah.
So if you're trying to find properties and do good comps, it's hard to find good comps and deals when there's only 11 going on versus when you have a pool of 1,000 just in this little area here.
And the thing about it is people want to be doing deals where there's not only comps, but there's competition, right? If there's more houses being sold, that means people want to live in those areas. No fix and flipper is going to want to fix and flip in a place that they can't sell that house. Doesn't make any sense for them to do that. So Shane, if you want to click on that 1,015, we'll go with that one, 1,015, right? So this is in Fort Worth, okay? And then we see a couple of different options here. I want to go ahead and click on that 91, right there. Yeah, I want to click on that 91 because I see there's some activity going on in here. See if I can get a little bit more information. Boom. So we see that there is a lot of activity going on right here. And this is probably going to be something that you're just looking at and you're like, oh my gosh, what's happening, right? 91. But really easy way that you can kind of digest some of this is at the top, there's investor activity, right? There's a ton of investor activity that you can see. So if you click on fix and flip, you'll see some successful investments around the area. So all of these represent fix and flips. And the reason that they represent fix and flips is because they were bought and sold within the last 12 months. So they're referred to as a fix and flip. Now you may find some that aren't necessarily fix and flips, but for the sake of purposes, we're going to do fix and flips, right? So here's where I always start. I take a look at the fix and flips in the area, and I kind of go line by line to see what fix and flippers are getting, like where they're buying their flips at a certain price. So Shane, I want you to click on that 405 for me. All right. And then I want you to scroll down to the pictures and just scroll through the pictures a little bit. I want to identify if this is actually fix and flip or if this was just a property that needed to get sold. So on the outside, it looks good. Okay. Inside, it looks like it was somebody who was living in it. Doesn't necessarily look too nice, but it looks like there was just a family that needed to sell the house. So for the purposes of what I'm trying to do, this isn't exactly what I'm looking for. This just looks like a family who sold their house. Okay. It's not a fix and flip. If I'm looking for fix and flips, I want to look at where fix and flip buyers are buying at. So Shane, if you want to go back to search at the top. Okay. So here's what I might do. Okay. If you click on the filter, right, at the filter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and take a look at a couple of things. So I want fix and flips, but maybe I want to take a look at ARV at 70%, 70% of ARV. You know, you always hear 70% minus repairs, 70% of ARVs. Purchase price. Most people who are doing fix and flips aren't doing fix and flips up to $2 million. So I might say, let's go down to 600,000, right? I want to be around 600,000. Okay.
And when you pick that number, is that just something that you're comfortable with, or is that
Well,
mean
so you
median
gotta
price in the neighborhood?
you got to think about what's going to be the demographic that you're really reaching out to. You're reaching out to, as a fix and flip, families. Fix and flippers take rundown houses, they fix them up to sell it to a family, right? Most families are not paying $1 million for a house. They're just not. Most families are paying no more than like $600,000 for a house, right? So with that in mind, price per square foot, I don't really need to touch it, but the square footage amount, I might bring it down to 3,000 square foot, because I really don't know a lot of families who are buying 5,000 square foot houses, right? So in that stead, now let's go ahead and run our search. Let's take a look at that. See what we have there. Boom. So now it gives me a little bit wider of a range, but I can take a look at a couple of these houses. So I want you to click on that house right there, that 322,204 Main.
This one here.
Yeah, that one right there. So when I'm looking at this first picture tells me that this is a fix and flip. This just looks like somebody went in, they did work to the house, and they went in there for a profit. So if you keep scrolling through, some of the telltale signs of a fix and flip are neutral colors on the walls, not really personalized. There's not really a lot of furniture in the house. It's very much a blank slate. And if there is anything, it's very, cookie cutter. There's nothing that's really personalizing in a house. So to me, this says fix and flip. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is, now that I see that it's a fix and flip, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go to the before and after, because I want to take a look and see what price that they bought it at and what price did they sell it at. So if I scroll down just a little bit, so we can see what it was looking like before, and then we can see what it looks like after. So that in and of itself tells me that it's a fix and flip. Like, you can tell that somebody went in there, redid the outside, redid the front, took out some fences, made it look pretty, and it just looks like a really well done house. Great. So now I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to take a look and say, what did they buy it at? Okay, so they bought it at $199 and they sold it for $322. Now, the really nice thing about Privy is it tells you percentage of ARV, right? And why I like this is because this is the percentage that they bought it at, not including repairs. Because as a wholesaler, you don't know what a repair cost is going to be. You have no idea what a repair cost is going to be. So the better way to kind of go about it is look at where they bought it at in the first place. Okay, so they bought it for $199. So that's 62% of ARV. So I'm going to write that down. 62% of ARV. Cool. Awesome. I also see that the ARV on this one was 322. I'm just going to write that down because, that might be relevant information to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. And I'm going to click on property history because I want to see if I can find out who did this. Who did this? So I'm scrolling down just a little bit more, and I see that the buyer right there was Alberto Eduardo. So he bought that property. And then if I scroll up, that was 6.3, and then Alberto Eduardo is the seller. That's a cash buyer. That's somebody who I could potentially reach out to and say, hey, I see that you did a flip on 204 Main Street in Haslett, Texas. I see you bought it at 62% of ARV. Are you looking for any more flips? Because I know he bought it at the price $199 and he sold it at $322. He's a cash buyer. So I'm going to write his name down. Alberto Eduardo. Okay. And it might be Eduardo Alberto, but there's a J. So it might be Eduardo J. Alberto. Okay. So that's the information that I need. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my search and I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to keep looking because this is only one house. One house doesn't tell me the story of a market. It just doesn't. So if you click on back to search up and it's up, well, this is good. This is good. So right here. So I want you to go ahead and click on that 330. That's just slightly east of 35 West. Okay. I want to take a look at this one. Now, this one was sold back in September or July 12th, 2022. So I don't really think that this one is really super relevant to me because it's almost a year ago since it sold. So I'm going to show you a little nifty trick on how to find more recently sold properties. So I want you to go back to search, Shane. And then under sort results, under properties found,
Yes.
I'm going to sort by the sold date. And I'm going to click the sold date down. Okay, so this tells me these are the most recently sold properties, what I'm looking at. This one was sold literally last week. So I'm going to click on that one. I think that one is something that might be interesting for me to take a look at and see if it's a fix and flip. So I'm going to scroll through the pictures a little bit.
Not many pictures. Oh, there they are.
Not many pictures. So
Yeah.
this one looks like it's a nice house. It's been well maintained. Looks like some new LVP in there. So this one might be a flip. I'm not entirely sure yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down just a little bit and see where they bought it at. Look at my before and after. Okay, so they bought it in December and they sold it. Okay, so they got it at 39% of ARV. Jeez, they got a really good deal, right? But what I can take from here is also, I see a 270 per sale price. So 270, I might write that one down. Okay, I don't know if the ARV is really super relevant because you're not often going to find 39% of ARV properties, right? This might have been a probate situation. This may have been an off-market deal that they found. You can see it says public record, so obviously it was off-market, right?
And the other key there is no before realtor pictures, right? And that the before comps, like the previous house we looked at, doesn't have all the interior pictures. It wasn't really a listing on the MLS.
Correct. And so for me, like what I'm going to take from this is I'm going to say, okay, great. This was a 3-bed, 2-bath house, just like the last property we looked at. It's about 1,400 square foot, just like the last property I looked at. This one wasn't super well done, but it's nice. And I could sell it for 270. So now what is this telling me about the market? Okay, really nicely well done houses I could probably sell for the 320 range. But, just really okay houses. They're not dirty. They're not bad. They're clean, but they haven't been updated. 270. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to search. I'm going to take a look at some other properties because really what I want to do is I want to try and find 3 or 4 properties that really speak to me. Okay. So I might take a look at that one right there.
This one here.
That one there.
Yep.
See what I can take a look and discern from this one. This one is like very far out looking at the map. It's very far out from where my other 2 properties were. So this isn't really where I want to be taking a look at. So I'm going to go back to search on this one. And I might take a look at, there's really 2 nice ones down there at the cusp of 335 West and 400 right there.
One here.
Yes. So I'm going to take a look at these ones. See what's going on in these ones. I hope I didn't already take a look at this one. No. So this is a 4-bed, 2,600 square foot, 4-bed, 3-bath, and I could sell it for 400,000. I think it says, Shane. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, and that sold in 22. So again, not really relevant to what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go back to search. Right? These are all things that I take a look at when I'm looking for a cash deal. So I might expand out a little bit, just like Shane did, and then sort out just a little bit and zoom in. Okay, so I have one right there that sold for 336.
Right there.
Yep, 336. Okay, so this one's nice, cute, 4-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square foot. Okay, sold on the MLS. Let's take a look at the pictures, see what happened. Okay, so this looks nice. This looks really nice. Looks a little bit personalized, but this could tell me a little bit of information about the market. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the before and afters. and take a look at the before and afters, see what's going on here. Okay. So I see that they bought this in 22 and they sold it in 23. They got it at 59% of ARV. That's exactly what I'm looking for. They bought it for $199 and they sold it for $336. Okay. So now that's two properties that I've seen in the same area that they bought for $199, they sold for $330s, $320s. Great. So I'm going to scroll down and go to public records and see if I can find who the buyer was here.
So Travis, before I scroll down, the stuff on the right-hand side right here, it says construction, hold time, and days on market.
Yep.
Do you look at that at all?
So I look at that, but that's really dependent on the buyer, right? Because they could have a hold time that, just from personal experience, I have a buddy of mine who I partner up with on fix and flip deals, and he can get a property turned around in less than a month, right? And some of these people are taking, almost 6-9 months to get stuff done. So that's really buyer preference, right? So I try and alleviate all of the unknowns. What are some unknowns? I don't know what the repair cost is going to be for a specific buyer. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get that property done. But what can I know? I know what they sold it for. I know what they bought it for, and I know what area it's in. These are the things that I know and I can tangibly say.
And you have a good understanding now just by looking at a couple of houses, the square footage, the bed count, so you're getting a good understanding in that area of what size. And so you're looking at houses that are very similar to that.
Yes. So for range of idea, we know that we have to have at least 2 bathrooms, right? Most people want 2 bathrooms for their house in this area, right? 3 to 4 bedrooms, give and take, 1,400 to 1,800 square footers where most people are sitting at, right? And then when I'm seeing that, I'm speeding up this process for you guys all just a little bit, because once you have Privy, you guys can go through and do this and replicate this for yourself. But I'm going to take a look at the property history and just kind of see if I can find who the buyer was. Just to kind of see. Smokin' S Properties LLC. Well, most LLCs that you see are probably fix and flippers. So I have two buyers now that I could reach out to. So Smokin' S Properties LLC. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, now that I know a couple of things, I know one, the two houses that really screamed fix and flip to me, they were bought at 199, 199.5. Okay. They were bought about 59 to 62% of ARV. So we'll call it 60% of ARV, 61%, anywhere in that range, 58 to 65. It's kind of a safe place for you to be. And I know that most people are looking for at least a 3-bedroom, at least 2 baths, and 1,300 to 1,800 square foot. So now what I can do is I can go look for those properties, see if I can find something like that. So I want you to go ahead and exit out of this, Shane, and we're going to go ahead and start looking for a property and see if we can find one for either Eduardo or Smokin' S Properties. Okay. And this is how you can go through and find your cash buyers list. This is how you can go through and analyze a market. This is how you can go through and see where the market touch point is at for what people want to be at. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that deals. Okay. I'm going to click on deals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on fix and flip. And then there's a really nifty green button there that says find similar active deals. I'm going to click on that.
Right there. There's the money.
Right. So I'm looking for similar active deals in fix and flip. But now what I want to do is I might want to filter down just a little bit. So I'm going to click on the filter. And so what do I know? I know that the purchase price, I want to be around 199, but most people aren't selling the property at a deal level. Otherwise it would have been sold. So I'll go to purchase price of 250. Okay. I know my square footage. I want to be around the 1,800 mark. So I'll say 2,000, give me a little bit of room to work with. Okay. Bed bath count, 3 beds, 2 baths. Okay. And then what I might do is I might do a sort by days on market. I might take a look at properties that I've had at least 60 days on market, because now that's when the seller is starting to say, well, maybe I'm not going to get what my property is worth or what I think it's worth. Let me see what I can do. And then I might run that search. And see what I can come up with. Okay. So we have a couple of different properties that we can take a look at. But I see that one that's at 208. That's the one that's
But
kind of
again,
like
the area that we were looking at, which was right in this area, right around Summerfield, right?
Mhm.
There isn't a whole lot that comes up on our search, but just outside of Summerfield,
we got this 208,
we have a
right?
208. Yeah. So
And so let's take a look at it. Okay, so we see that it's a 3-bed, 3-bath, 1,400 square foot. That kind of lines up with what we've been looking at just a little bit. So I'm going to take a look at the pictures, see what's going on here. Is this a property that could stand some updates? So from the outside, yeah, definitely
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like it could stand some updates. Inside, that is retro. That is some water damage at the top, not really well suited together. Definitely some nicer appliances, but the house overall is just kind of like sploshed together. Some updates, not updates. Roof is kind of looking like it needs some loving. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look and scroll down just a little bit. I'm going to say, okay, great. What is it saying? Unique home nestled in the historical district, split up into 3 studio spaces with a kitchen and full bath in each space. Okay. So is this a triplex or is this a single family property? Right. So what I see here is that this is a triplex with month-to-month tenants. And so I may not really want to be looking at that. I may not want to really go into that because month-to-month tenants, any property that has tenants in place, make it really hard for a fix and flipper to get in there and flip around their money as quickly as they would want to, right? Because they have to give the tenants advance notice that they have to vacate. So what is that? 30 to 60 days before the tenant can get out. You're paying hard money on your for as a cash buyer, that's 30 to 60 days, that 2 payments that you have to make where you can't do anything. Most people aren't looking for that. So I might exit out of this one. This one isn't really one that I want to take a look at. So I might change up my parameters a little bit. So I'm going to filter in and I'm going to say, okay, let's look at purchase prices at 275 or higher or lower. And then what I'm going to say is, let's look at 30 days on market. Let's see if I can find anything before it becomes like really prevalent to everybody. And see if I can find something like that. So I'm going to run my search. Okay, so now I'm getting a few properties in that area that I was in, around that area that I was in. So I'm going to look at that 235 right there, right? That one looks like it could have some potential. So 1,200 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath. Okay, looking at the property, ooh, definitely could use some updating, but definitely looks vacant. Looks like there's no one in there, right? So now my next step is now that I found a property that I could potentially put in an offer for a cash buyer. I'm going to try and see where the ARV on this property is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. And I'm going to go to comparables.
Right there.
I'm going to try and see, can I find properties?
Really easy that way, right?
Right there. So what I'm seeing is, okay, so the blue splotches represent investor activity. Okay, so I'm going to click on that 318 and that 319.
Let's start with that one.
Okay. So that 318 and that 319. So I'm going to click on that 318. I'm going to take a look at it. Okay, so it looks very similar to what I'm dealing with right now. Like on a square footage, bed, bath count, dang near close, right? 1,300 square foot. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with these 2 properties.
So, and the 319 is still active.
It's still active. Yeah. And so
it was actually, someone actually paid 318 for this house back in May.
Exactly. So what does that tell me? The 319 is active, but the 318 sold. There's a few things that I could take a look at there. I could say, well, maybe 318 is too high of a tangible mark for me to make. Or maybe that neighborhood where that 318 is at is a better neighborhood than where the 319 is at. There's a lot of different ways that you can take it. But what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say, okay, great. I'm going to take a look at the 318 because that one is actually sold, right? That one has been sold. I can see it. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to scroll down just to where it says before and after. I'm going to take a look at, see who bought it and who sold it. So this one was bought in January and sold in May. They bought it at 84% of ARV, right? They paid $266 for this property. Cool. Awesome. But this was sold at 318, right? So I'm going to be conservative and I'm going to say, okay, well, my ARV in this area, I see a 319 that hasn't sold. I see a 318 that did sell. I'm going to call my ARV 310. 310, right? Cut somebody a break on the deal. So just between the two investor properties, I see 319 that didn't sell and 318 that sold back in May. We're going into July. So that's 2 months ago. So let me make an adjustment for that. Okay. So I'm going to exit out of that. I'm going to take a look at my property again. So now I know that in the 300 range, it's tangible for me to sell the property. Okay. And I know that my investors probably would like to be on the other half of 60% of ARV. Right. So what does that tell me? Pretty simple. Now it's just simple math. What is 310 times 0.6? 310 times 0.6?
186.
186, right? This is 186, right? Now let's see what 310 times 0.65 is. 201, right? So 186 to potentially 201. But we know that other people have bought highest at 199. So I may say, okay, my maximum allowable offer is 199, but I want to be around the 186 mark because I know people will buy it. So now it's very simple. Okay. I say, okay, my maximum allowable offer is 199, but I want to start at 186. And I need to give myself room so I can make an assignment fee. Say I want to make $10,000 of an assignment fee. Okay. 186 minus 10, 176. Now I know I can go give an offer and you may not get accepted. If you're not stepping on sellers' toes that have houses listed on the market, you're not giving good enough offers. If they're accepting all of your offers, that's a problem because most of the time when it comes to a deal that cash buyers are looking for, they're looking for a deal, especially if it's listed on the MLS. They need 30, 40, 50K off of the MLS price. Otherwise, they could have done it themselves.
So Travis, what you just did is you've come up with a formula, right?
Yes.
Based on the actual market data.
Yes.
We just look at the houses. We know that the houses are going to sell close to 320.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get them to sell at 320, you have to make them look like they're going to be sold for 320. That means that they're people that are buying them to rehab them in that 199 range, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know people are going to buy them close to 200 to sell them at the 318.
Yep. And I have no idea how much work they're putting into the property. What I'm looking at is what did you buy it at? Because that's what I should be going off of. So let's just recap what I did. I looked at a couple of other properties and saw where they were selling at. Okay. I saw in the 330 range, 310 to 330. That's where this property's ARV could be. So I know this is pretty squarely in that area. Okay. I saw what those people bought the properties at 59, 62% of ARV. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that ARV price that I found, which was 310. If you want to be technical, you could call it 318, but I went 310 because I want to give myself some buffer. 310. And I multiplied it by 6%, 60%. And that gave me 186. And then I know other people are willing to pay 199 for it, but I want to try and see if I can negotiate a deal, right? Because if they want to pay 199 for it, what I might do is I might say, well, the most I can pay for it is 186, but I'd love to get it at like 176 if I can, right? If I get it at 176 and I go and wholesale it to someone for 199, it's almost $20,000 of an assignment fee that I made, right? But going off of the presumption of 60% of ARV, my maximum allowable offer is 186, and I want to make at least $10,000. So what I did, ARV times what buyers are buying for gives me a number, subtracted from my, and then subtract my assignment fee out of it. That's my offer. So I might call up this seller and say, call up this agent and say, hey, I see the house has been listed on the market for about 32 days. I have been watching it. I'm interested. I wanted to wait until interest rates kind of shook out to where they want it to be before I was looking to buy another property, but this property looks like something I might be interested in. Do you know what price your seller's, like your bottom dollar for your seller? Yeah, my seller doesn't really have a bottom dollar. Okay, great. Well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run some numbers and see what I can come back to you with. If I'm coming back to you below 100, below 200, do you even want to hear my offer? And the agent will tell you, no, don't give me your offer. Jot it down. Leave a note in here. And the really nice thing is, Shane, you don't have to do it, but you can favorite this property and leave a note next to it. So at the top, next to hide, right next to back to search, there's a little star that says favorite.
Right there. Yep.
You can favorite this property and leave a note in there and say offer 176, right? And then you just come back to it every day. Like come back to it every week, every 2 weeks, and you take a look and say, oh, it's still listed on the market. Oh, they did a price drop. Oh, they're at 215. Okay, let me give the agent a call back. Hey, I spoke to you about a month ago. I'm still looking for my next fix and flip. Do you think your seller may be considering a lower offer at this point? And the agent may say, well, what's your offer? Yeah, I ran my numbers a while back ago, and I still think my offer is pretty solid, but it's lower than where your seller wants to be. You let me know if your seller would even entertain this offer, right? Agent says, well, what's the offer? Well, I could probably do 176. Like that's where I could be, and I know I could close in about 2 to 3 weeks if you're willing to do 176. More than likely, agent's going to be like, no, that's too low. Cool. Leave a note in here. Gave agent my offer. Follow back up in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Call the agent again. Hey, I gave you my 176 offer. Do you think your seller is willing to accept it at this point? The agent may say, yeah. Yeah, the seller is ready to move forward with your offer. Or the agent may save your number and reach back out to you. Hey, is your 176 offer still on the table? Right? Because the agent doesn't get paid unless they sell the house. So you're giving them a solution to their problem. Now, whether or not they're going to take it is up to you to just follow up and be consistent. But you know where you need to be, right? So if they come back and they say, yeah, we're willing to take that 176 offer, you now know that you have given a good offer that you could now go wholesale to somebody for 186 to 199 and make a good assignment fee off of that because you are using actual data to support where you're coming from. You're not just using 70% minus repairs, because how are you going to know how much a repairs is going to cost to a buyer? You don't know what crews they have. You don't know if they use contractors. You don't know if they do the work themselves. You have no idea. All you can know is how much did they pay for it in the beginning. And so you go off of that.
All right, 2 gems, Travis. And when you first make contact with that realtor, and maybe they say no to your offer, right? And just say, not at this time. Well, you already know that realtor has at least one house that looks like this, that kind of fit that fix and flip model. It's a great opportunity to just say, do you have any other houses in your portfolio that I should look at? You know,
yeah,
I'm looking to do fix. Maybe they have one that's not on your radar yet. That's just a mile down the road. Make that known. So you've already made the contact with the realtor. You build that rapport.
Yeah.
Maybe this house isn't the one, but maybe they have one in their pocket.
Yeah. And realtors notice when you are consistent, right? They do, because they get a ton of calls every day. But if they're getting a call pretty consistently from the same number and they hear the same voice, they'll start to associate with you. They'll say, hey, I get a call from you every day. This seller's not interested, but I do have another property that came across my desk that maybe you want to take a look at. right? And now that's one that you didn't even have to do the work for at the beginning. You didn't have to build that relationship. That deal came to you from the relationship that you have. And now you just use the information that you can find on Privy to see what offer you can give on that house.
All right, Travis, here's the scary part for everybody that's just starting. Making it the offer to the realtor, and the realtor says, yes. What now? What have I done? Oh my gosh.
So realistically, if you follow these steps and you make a solid offer, you should not be concerned. Why? Because you have also, not only did you make a solid offer based on information, but you should have been taking down some of the names of the people that you saw were doing fix and flips for those prices. So now what you can do is you can just go and Google those people, go to True People Search, go to Open Corporates. And this isn't really for me to show you how to use Privy to show you the tools to find the cash buyers, but I think that can be a Zoom in the future. But there's two websites that I would say. If it's an LLC, opencorporates.com. And if it's an individual, truepeoplesearch.com, right? You can find most of the information that you need. Then you have three options that you can do. One, and probably my least favorite one to do, is blast it on Facebook or blast it on social media. Hey, I have a deal. Blast it out. I don't like that way to do it because it's very impersonal. And, you're going to get a lot of negativity coming back to you. And also, there's no way for you to vet if that person who responds to you and says, hey, I'm interested, is actually a buyer. When you blast it out on social media, you open yourself up to daisy chaining. And if you don't know what daisy chaining is, it's basically say Shane has a deal and he puts it on Facebook. And I tell Shane, hey, Shane, I'm a buyer. Can I get a contract for this deal? Yeah. And then I go and get a contract and I market it out to somebody else. Hey, I have a deal here. And I add on my assignment fee. And then they do the same thing. Boom, 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 boom. The end buyer is so far away from the person who actually has the original contract that they may just leave the deal. They may say, I don't want any part of this because I don't know what's going on. That's a dangerous thing that you open yourself up to if you put it out on Facebook. But you can find some cash buyers on Facebook pretty easily. My two personal favorite ways to do it. Firstly, using Privy to find your cash buyers based on the information that you're in. Because you'll find people who have actively just sold a fix and flip in the past 2-3 months. They're probably looking for their next opportunity, probably looking for their next deal. So reach out to them. Hey, I saw that you did 204 Main Street and you bought it at 62% of ARV. You bought it at 199 and you sold it for 322. I have a property here that has ARV of 310 and I got it under contract. And I'm looking to sell it for 186. Is this something you're interested in? Yeah, send me over the details. I'm definitely interested in that, right? You did your research. And for cash buyers, if you do your research and you're looking up what they did and you're able to articulate what they did and how they did it and cater to something that for something that they have already done, you stand out from every other wholesaler who's reaching out to them trying to give them a deal. But my personal favorite would be reaching out to somebody who maybe has the connections already, like Shane or Cindy, or myself. Reach out to us, right? Collaboration over competition, right? Because you may go and find these deals, but maybe you don't know how to find the cash buyers. But just like we said at the beginning, you don't have to be the master of everything, right? Be the master of one thing. Maybe you're a master at underwriting and finding deals on Privy, but you have no idea how to find and communicate with cash buyers. Reach out to somebody who does and see how many deals you could turn over just by doing that, right? Just by you focusing on finding the deals and your partner or the person that you're partnering with focuses on finding the buyers, you'll turn over a lot more deals if you don't have to take off your acquisition hat and put on your disposition hat at the same time, right? If you have somebody to do it for you,
Then there's on that, that's for sure.
Yeah. If you have somebody to do it for you, you can just keep your acquisition hat on and get really, really good at what you do. And then that person who's dispoing those deals for you can get really, really good at what they do. Right. And then now you have a system. Hey, here's a deal. Can Can you dispo it? Yeah, I got you. I got 3 buyers who are interested in it. Here's a deal. 4 buyers who are interested in it. Here's a deal. I actually just talked to a buyer yesterday who told me that they wanted something exactly like this, right? You can turn over a lot of profit if you focus on what you're supposed to focus on and not continue to switch your hats. That was my biggest mistake. And if I could go back and do something differently, I would have done that differently.
Agree 100%. I'm very guilty of the same thing, is trying to, especially in the beginning, right? When you're trying to figure out the real estate game, is where do I fit in? What market should I be in? You're just trying to find them all. If you could pick a market like DFW, here we're not just in all of DFW, we're in a very specific market, right? It's had a lot of activity.
Mhm.
Very short period of time, a day, couple of days, you could go through and look at all the history of what's been happening here in the last 6 months, what deals are coming on, which ones are on the market a little bit. You know, you can very quickly become an expert in this area. And then you can work out to the area next to it. You know, of course, stick to the big blue circles, right? The big piles of data where there's a lot of activity. But over the course of 30, 60, 90 days, you could be the expert for the DFW market. And in that kind of time frame, you would have a list of probably a couple hundred cash buyers.
Yeah.
You know, 100 or so investor friendly realtors. You know, you're going to come across them, you're going to find them. And once you get those 2 lists built, and buyers too, right? Your cash buyers. And you're going to come across contractors too in this search. Start building your list, taking good notes. You could really create a nice little real estate market just around that, right?
Yeah. And, you know, at the end of the day, everything is about your network, right? So although you're looking for deals, you're also looking to build your network, right? You're looking to build network with agents, because ideally you don't want to be the person who's calling these realtors all the time. Do you? No. You want to be a business owner. You want to make money. So if you can start cultivating these relationships, and then you start having these realtors send you deals, just send you deals, right? Now you're not doing that heavy lifting, that work, and you could focus on other things with your time instead of calling and comping an area. Like maybe you are just so in tune with the DFW area at this point that you just know. Like you see a property coming, you see the ARV, you say, nope, I need it here. And the realtor says, great, we'll get that offer. Now you took this 40-minute thing that me and Shane were doing and you compiled it into a 2-minute conversation, right? That's where you want to get to. You want to get to the point where people are sending you leads. And now you're at the point where you can say, this is where I need to be in order for this to work. Otherwise, we can't do it, because you don't need to take that deal. You have so many. The best way to kind of be confident in an offer and stick by it is to have other leads, have other opportunities, right? If you are pining after one deal because you don't have the opportunity to find it, because you don't have other opportunities coming your way, you might end up giving yourself a really bad deal that you can't dispo. So the best way to kind of overcome that and make sure that you're not giving bad deals or doing bad deals is to have more opportunities coming your way, to the point where you can say, I don't really need to buy this deal. I don't need to get this deal under contract. I have 5 other ones that are coming my way that I have to look at today. So either we can do it at this price, or I'm going to go and look at these other opportunities, right? And when you have that confidence, realtors or sellers, they'll feel it. Oh yeah, this guy means business. If I really want to sell my house, he may be the person that I need to work with, because I know he sounds like he can honor his end of the bargain. And that's all that it is. It's the credibility. It's the ability to do what you say you're going to do. Okay.
And the houses that are nice looking houses, right? Those aren't the houses that you're talking about, because those are going to sell. The realtor knows those will sell in the market. It's the houses like the one that we saw that had some roof damage, and you know, here you are trying to take photos of the house to sell it, and it's got stuff stacked from floor to ceiling, you know, dirty laundry on the counters, and those houses just aren't going to show. The realtor knows that. They know that it's not going to sell in the open market. They need somebody like you to move it for them.
Yes. And you would be surprised how many deals happen off market from realtors talking with investors. A lot of them. In my local market, I see them happen all the time. So that's all for Privy right now. I don't want to information overload anyone, but I want to open it up to questions for the next couple of minutes and see if anybody has any questions, concerns about what I said. Shane, if you can stop sharing, that'd be great, just so I can see the people who might be asking. Sonia, I tried working with 2 different people for dispo and feel I lost the deal sale because of them, so am hesitant now. Well, unmute. What do you mean that you lost a deal because of them? Did they steal a deal from you?
No. I'll just go with the second deal, but I started working with the local RIA founder here in Charlotte, and I got this house under contract. I talked to the homeowner, got the contract, and she said that she has buyers, that she's been in the area for 30 years and she could handle it. And she did ask me if I minded if she made some money off of it, if she, dispoed it, and I was okay with that. But I think she wanted too high of amount that she put, and I don't think she gave it enough time, because I know that the house just sold last month, and if I would have worked it, I think that I could have made it work.
Okay.
Instead of leaving it up to her.
So here's a couple of things that I'll say. One, I never give somebody the ability unilaterally to market my deal. What I'll give them is an option agreement, right? I'll give them the option to buy the contract from me or to have me sign it. And the reason I do that is I do a non-exclusive option agreement, meaning that if somebody comes to me with my deal and I found it and I sourced it and I would like some help finding a buyer, and they say, yeah, I have a ton of buyers, just let me market it for you. Okay, I'll let you market it for me, but I'm going to do a non-exclusive option agreement. What's that? It means that you have the ability to market it. And if you market it and you find a verified buyer that will buy it, this is the profit delegation that we're going to split. So that way, you know how much they're trying to market it out for, right? So you know exactly how much they're trying to market it out for.
Okay.
Secondly, the non-exclusive option agreement also gives me the right to go and market my own contract. So if you can't find a buyer, and by the time that you find a buyer, I've already found one, the agreement says you're not due anything. So it really puts it on them. If they want to make money, they have to stand by what they say.
And they have to be faster than you.
Exactly. They got to be faster than I am. Right. And I'm going to be trying to sell that contract everywhere. So it really puts the pressure on them and not on you to perform.
I think what Sonny was going to ask there, and Sonny, correct me if I'm wrong, do you have a non-exclusive option contract that we could see or you could share with some people if they contacted you?
Let me see if I have it in my sheets. Okay.
And I had one other question when you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
So do you typically do like a percentage, or do you do a flat fee for someone that you are working with that wants that, let's say you have one person that you're gonna let them agree to dispo it with this non-exclusive option agreement, and then so let's just say that there's $20,000 profit made. Do you split that with them 50-50, or do you do percentages of a different?
Let me share my screen here with you because I'll show you what I do. Okay, so here's my non-exclusive option agreement that I like to use. Okay. It's a non-exclusive option agreement. And basically how it reads is that received from blank, this is the person who is trying to sell the property, okay, or sell my contract for the sum of $1. I usually make this $0, okay. And the sellers, which is me, to be held uncashed until this option is accepted as a deposit. Deposit is credited towards $0 of the price. Seller hereby grants the buyer and or assigns a period of 13 calendar days from the date thereof the non-exclusive right and privilege of purchasing the following property described as, this is where I would put the property at. This is me agreeing to a 50-50 split, a 70-30 split, a 80-20 split, a 60-40 split of the sales price, which is my option or proceeds, with the buyers. This proceeds would be split blank to the sellers, blank to the buyers. This is a legal and binding contract and has been thoroughly reviewed by both parties. Very simple, very straight. There's not a lot of legal jargon in here, but basically what it's saying is, hey, you have 13 days to market this contract to somebody and bring me a buyer. If you don't fulfill that end of the bargain in 13 days, contract is null and void. This is how much we're going to split it. Boom, boom. And this is how it's going to be delegated. Boom, boom. We both agree to this. Sign it. DocuSign, wet signature, whatever the case may be. And now that person legally has the right to go and market that contract. Because until this is signed, actually, that person that you're working with, unless you sign a JV agreement with them, doesn't have the legal right to market that contract for you. Right? So they don't have the legal right to market the contract unless you sign a JV agreement. And I wouldn't sign a JV agreement with them because you don't know what they're going to do. So I would sign an option agreement where it's predefined and you already know what you're going to be doing, right? So
And
that is
the bad feelings come into when you talk about daisy chaining, right? Because without an agreement like this in place, next thing you know, Travis is talking to Sonia and she's selling it to Rhonda, and no one's really knows. All he came back to Shane and said, "Hey, you're the one with the contract. Did you know that this person was marketing your property?"
Yeah,
we've seen that, and people get upset over that. Where if you had this option contract, Travis can go, Shane has the contract, but I have the option to market this.
It
brings you that sale.
It brings you a little bit more credibility because realistically as well, right? And if you're going to find buyers for people, you're also going to want to sign this as well. Because if you find a buyer, right, and you say, hey, I have a buyer, I want to connect you with my buyer, right? They connect. There's no legal document that says you're supposed to get any amount of money at all. So that wholesaler or whoever found the deal can just go take your buyer, cut out your fee, and then collect the whole fee from the buyer.
Right.
So this is what
that happen as well. Yeah.
I have seen that happen. So this is what protects both you and the person who's trying to market your contract jointly, right? And there's a difference between exclusive and non-exclusive. Exclusive right, never give that. Because the exclusive right means that for these 13 days, technically speaking, you don't even have the right to market your contract. Only they have the right to market your contract. Non-exclusive right means that not only could you go and market your contract, but you could also give an option agreement to 3 other people, and they all have a non-exclusive right. So whoever brings you the buyer is the first person who gets the pot, and everybody else, tough luck. Right? But now you're protected because you know everyone who's marketing your contract, and you've defined what they're supposed to get. So what I would say to that is, even though local RIA people are people you're supposed to look up to, they're part of the general public of real estate investors who really don't perform in what they say they're going to be able to. So what I would recommend to you is not only if they say they have buyers, great, have buyers, but spread your net wider, right? As long as you have the contract with the seller, no one can go behind your back, technically speaking, right? Because you can sue the sellers technically for specific performance if somebody tries to reach out to the seller outside of you, right? I would also recommend, if you don't have so already, putting a memorandum clause in your contract that you get under contract that says you can file a memorandum on the property once the contract is signed. So that way, if somebody does try and go around you, you can cloud title, so that way they can't close until you get paid what you're supposed to get paid for the contract. Okay. But then spread your net wide, like talk to as many people as possible. Hey, you have a person who can market this, or who you have a buyer? Great. Here's a buyer, right? But then I would vet them on their credibility. How many deals have you done? Right? Because if it's somebody who's done maybe like 100 deals in the past 2 years, I might be more open to doing a 50-50 split with them. Because now I know if I find another deal, they may be somebody who can find me a lead. But if it's somebody who's newer, somebody whose Facebook profile looks a little bit iffy, somebody who I really don't know, I may say, hey, I'll do an 80-20 split with you. Take it or leave it, right? Like, I don't necessarily, you don't need them to market it for you, but it only helps to serve you. So you're giving them 20% just for reaching out to buyers, okay? Which is not the hard part per se.
But again, it's non-exclusive, so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? You're not relying on that one person to sell it for you.
Correct.
Let them run, but also, your clock is ticking. You only have a few days, so get out there and run your whole network.
And give yourself some time too, like with an inspection period, give yourself like 14 days, 21 days if you can swing it, right? Because what that inspection period is your time to find a buyer. That is your time to find a buyer. So if you have 21 days to find a buyer, you can go and give these people like 7-day options, 13-day options. But even end all be all, if they come back to you and they say, hey, I don't have somebody, you're not on your last day of inspection to find a buyer. You can make a decision and say, maybe I don't have this. Or maybe you can ask them, hey, why didn't your buyers want to do this? Hey, the price is too high. Now you have the opportunity to go back and negotiate with the seller. Hey, I know I told you I'd give you 120, but after looking at the property, walking through, talking with some of my financing partners, I kind of need to be at 100. Seller may say, sure, fine, 100. And now you can go dispo that with your option agreement with whoever found a buyer, said that they're going to pay 110 for it. I don't know. Like, it's all about networking, and it's all about knowing the people that you're protecting yourself. Like, at the end all be all, it's all about protecting yourself. Because when people, like, no disrespect to you, Sonia, but when people say I lost the deal because of somebody else, I always ask them, what did you do to protect yourself? And what did you do to make sure that somebody else couldn't affect the deal?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So next time,
Oh,
call
yeah.
Travis, call Cindy. We have deep lists of buyers.
I would also reach out to Jake Villaret, Villaret. He's in North Carolina. And he's one of my close friends. He's a sub-2 student as well. He has a lot of connections out there, along with Chad Glover. So reach out to both of those people. They're both in the creative financing with Pace Morby group. And I think they might be in the Creative University group as well. Reach out to them if you're in North Carolina. Those are people that are definitely be helpful, and I trust both of them.
I appreciate that because, to be honest, I found out that I have cancer in February, and that is around the time I got the contract, and I was freaking out. So I just kind of let her handle it, to be honest, because I was surgeries and all kinds of things. And then I was kicking myself in the butt for not doing more, but at the same time, I was in a bad spot. But I have a huge list. I know it's just driving for dollars, but I have a huge list of driving for dollars that I've accumulated in the past year and a half. And I'm newer. I've had 2 properties under contract, but I haven't been able to make anything happen yet. And the other property I did have, I trust this woman and I love her as a friend, but I think it wasn't the best person probably to work with. And it's just me. So it is very, very hard to try to do everything yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciate you giving me these two people's names. Can you spell Jake's last name again for me?
Billaret. Villaret.
Okay. And I haven't done paces. I mean, I did the elephant challenge, but I'm not necessarily like one of his students. So how would I go about finding his information just within this group right here?
The creative financing group with Pace Morby is a free group,
Okay.
and both of them are in there. And I would say reach out to them on Facebook, especially Jake, and tell him that Travis Banks sent you. And you'll be golden. Tell me you're in
Okay.
North Carolina, you're looking at some cash deals. You've had people kind of screw you over in the past, and you really want some help. And he's more than happy to help you out. And I am sorry to hear about your cancer. My mom just got over her cancer last year. So I understand how tough that can be, but I'm hoping
Yeah,
for the best
this
for you.
chemo thing is no joke. So it's like,
Yeah.
feeling bad and not being able to do much. And then you're like, okay, I'm good. Let's go, go, go. And then feel bad and then go, go, go. And it's like, I just need, yeah, somewhat a little person here in North Carolina that knows what they're doing. So when I do get deals, I have someone I can trust that can hopefully make some money with.
Yep, I definitely recommend Chad Glover and Jake. They're both great people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Sonia.
Thank you.
Deb, you have one question. I will answer it, and then I have to go.
Yeah, sorry, just real quick. I'm in North Carolina also, so
Mhm.
but I'm in the eastern part of the state, Sonia. So anyhow, my quick question is Privy compared to PropStream. Do you have any experience with PropStream?
PropStream, yes, PropStream is great because it will give you a little bit more information about one, the mortgage information, if you're looking at mortgage information. PropStream will give you some legal descriptions of the property, but Privy will also do that. I would say if you're going to be direct to agent, Privy. If you're going to be off market, PropStream.
Okay. All right.
And I know
Thank you.
Cindy has a prop stream account. I have the Privy account. So maybe we will try to schedule another meeting around showing prop stream and how it works and this different feel and function.
But it's different.
It's different,
But if you can afford both, I would probably say afford both, especially if you live in a market that has like a lot of MLS activity on Privy. Because what then I would do is if I'm going to do off market, I may do some off market searching, but then I'm going to take a look at the ARV on Privy because that has MLS data. And PropStream may have MLS data, but it's not as great as Privy's.
Yeah, PropStream's not. I use that. I'm in that women's real estate investing that Cindy's in, I think. And yeah,
too.
and it doesn't always seem up to date. And just looking at what you had on Privy, it actually, I mean, the layout seemed a little bit more user friendly to me.
100%.
But I mean, you can get your ARVs and stuff off of MLS, but like I said, I feel like the information is slow to come to PropStream. And sometimes where I am, there are not a lot of pictures, when you go into the details, trying to look at, the comparisons, it's just aggravating sometimes.
Yeah, and so for me, what I usually use PropStream or batch leads, but that's because I do creative deals. So I like to take a look at what the mortgage is doing, like how much equity they have in the deal. Because even if it's an all market deal, and they may not have a lot of equity, and then maybe I can swing a creative option for them that way. But I would say PropStream is better if you're doing off market. Privy is the one tool that you need if you do direct to agent. It really is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Shane, do you
Great,
have
appreciate
anything
your
else
time,
for me?
Travis.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Again, reach out to me. I'm in the Creative University group chat with all of you guys. So reach out to me, shoot me a friend request. Some of you guys reach out to me and send me like paragraphs of questions. I really appreciate you guys, but I don't necessarily have a ton of time to answer questions about theoreticals. So if you have a question about something that you're actively working on, or something that you need help with, or you need a point in the right direction on something that you're actively working on, please reach out to me. And if you just want to set up a connection or a call or something like that, happy to do that as well. But I can't really get into the weeds about theoreticals, because I have other things that I need to be working on for me and my business partner about actuals, if that makes sense. Not to be rude or dismissive of anyone. It's just, I got to prioritize some things in my time.
Amen to that, because here it is 8:30 at night for me, and I have a list of people I haven't called back yet today. And some days it just is like that, right? They just you try to help, but there's also a limit.
I visited 2 fix and flip properties that we're doing right now before this Zoom. So, I'm just ready to eat.
I'm ready for dinner, and it's here. It's 8:30 at night. So, and I know Cindy was going to be on here tonight. And again, she had some family stuff that came up. So she apologizes for not being here. But I know she wanted to reach out to the Ring group and some people that were here tonight and try to build a group of people that wanted to get together and do some more deals on Privy. If you're interested, I'm going to throw Cindy's information and my information out here again. Reach out to us, and we can set up maybe like just a more personal, private meeting, and we can go through whatever market you're interested in and do a deep dive and show you a little more detail in your market. If you're interested, again, reach out to us and we'll see what we can get something done. And Travis, we appreciate your time. Hopefully we can send some deals your way. I'd love to do some deals with you, my friend.
Absolutely. I'm sending all the mobile home parks your way. So,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. You guys have a good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.